I've re-recorded the intro to this like 4 or 5 times because I don't really know how to present it, or I just want to be honest, all right? It's going to be like an 8-minute video, just my genuine opinion on what's going on right now, because painful is the only way I can describe this. It really is painful watching Erik ten Hag and Manchester United right now. And what's more painful is after the game yesterday, we're now talking about players sending indirect messages against the manager from Garnacho, from Ahmad, and what's going on with Antony. It's like, oh, here we go again. Great. We've reached that point. Fantastic. Delighted to be here. But Erik ten Hag, look, Carl Anka said it from The Athletic back in December, and it always stuck in my head. I think Erik ten Hag was an interim manager from that point under Ineos. Show us what you can do. That's what Erik ten Hag needed to do. And if you look at where we were back at that time after 25 games, 5 points off fourth, won 4 games in a row in a really good spot. Fast forward 7 games and we've only picked up 6 more points. The results have been awful in these last couple of months. They really, really have been. And Erik ten Hag yesterday, this video has kind of been going around, right? This is Erik ten Hag being asked a question. Well, you can listen to it.
Erik, there's a danger you get caught in 7th place. If you fall below 7th, that would be the worst finish in Premier League history for United. Do you think you're going to be above?
I don't going to take that question. It's not that is not important at this moment.
Right, so people are having a massive go at him for walking out the press conference, whereas the reality was that the press conference was over before somebody just decided to pull the pin out of the grenade and throw it in. Truth be told, had that been a victory, Erik ten Hag probably would have answered it, but at that point he didn't want to answer that question. I don't think that's going to be a point where I'm going to really focus on, but you can see, of course, ten Hag's on edge. I've just run through the results, but it's this conversation here around Garnacho which I think deserves most attention and discussing, all right? This is what Erik ten Hag said about Garnacho after the game, all right? Is why he substituted him. He goes, I think we had to repair over the right-hand side. We didn't play well. The spaces were there. In possession, we had to bring a sub there. Garnacho was, during the week, not training. Only trained once, I believe. Only yesterday. We thought we'd bring some energy and bring some more quality. Quality in the sense of cooperation and togetherness on the right-hand side. Garnacho didn't have a good game. Pretty much everybody apart from Rashford didn't have a good game. Not Rashford, sorry. Bruno with 2 goals. Rashford had a bad game. Everybody had a bad game. And then you're seeing this, right? On social media. Garnacho going down, liking a couple of posts from Goldbridge. Saying that ten Hag subtly blaming Garnacho in the post-match press conference is not a good look, throwing him under the bus. That's some stretch, saying that's throwing him under the bus. And this is a player who has started consecutively, must be 30 plus games for Manchester United this season. A player who seemingly had been growing a bond with Erik ten Hag ever since he was disciplined during the pre-season and then came through, and look at him now, starting 30 consecutive games. Now, this is the thing I want to point out here, right? Garnacho going to Twitter, hot-headed after a defeat. Let's see what happens now. All right. Let's go and check Garnacho's feed and see that he still likes those posts. Ah, right. Okay. He hasn't. There is absolutely nothing to gain from any Manchester United player ever going to social media after a defeat. After a win, enjoy it. Bask in the ambience. Enjoy the moment. A defeat. Put your phone down, boys. There is nothing to gain. Garnacho immediately reversing. Unliking those posts. Shit. Look at the storm that's caused. Amad Diallo. Call it an indirect if you want. On Instagram this morning. Reverse. Immediate reverse. I don't care how bad a Manchester United manager is. I don't care how bad the football is. I really do not care. You will never hear me supporting a player throwing indirect or shade towards a manager on social media. A manager's job in the modern game is hard enough. If you have your grievances, and plenty of players do, and maybe Garnacho does, and maybe Ahmad does, and maybe there's justification for those grievances. Go and knock on the door. Doing that in public, it will never get support from me. Ever. And the fact that Garnacho has now gone to his Twitter account and unliked those posts, it goes to show that hot-headedness that happens after... It's like a big reason why I always personally hated fan cams. Because I think it gets fans in a vulnerable position after a win or a defeat where they're going to say something or do something which is heightened by emotion in that moment. And that's what that was yesterday from Garnacho. He's gone back and retracted it. And I imagine he regrets it. Media training for these players, modern younger players, man, it must be like exhaustive in getting it right. And it's just like, of course, this is the sort of situation with now that the managers really, it doesn't look good for Erik ten Hag, all right? Just the consistently crap results and performances, and a lot of it, let's be honest, being due to the setup that we've continued with this season and the spaces that it leaves behind. And then you're just seeing conjecture that comes in now. Antony missing from the squad yesterday. Ooh, it was more to this than people think. Nothing to do with the allegations, just football reasons. Left out of the squad in part due to disagreements over playing time when he feels he deserves to start. He's not injured. Then Samuel Luckhurst coming out at 2 a.m, by the way, saying something completely different from his sources from the club. Club say that he was dropped is completely false, that he was injured, and said that after he was unable to complete their final training session on Friday. It's just like... here we go again. Like, we've probably reached that stage now. But the thing that I will always come back to is that I don't know why it's stuck in my head so much from Kyle Anker, because I just felt it was a correct way to describe what the next few months were for Erik ten Hag. Show me what you've got. And if Jim Ratcliffe and Ineos are sitting on and watching this team now, they're watching a team which could well win the FA Cup, which would be, which is looking like it would be a send-off more than a point of progress for Erik ten Hag. But I hate shit like this. And I always will. Whether it's Sancho, whether it's Garnacho, whether it's Ahmad, whether it's anybody else. I just think a manager's job is difficult enough without indirects like that and dealing with that sort of stuff. Is this the end? No, I don't think it's the end. But I just, as it stands, I'd be surprised if Erik ten Hag is Manchester United's manager next season. And then you've now reached that point where you argue about player power and players versus manager, and it's just like, yeah, here we go again.